Some mysteries aren't just stories, they're cold cases. And for decades, one of the coldest cases on the entire planet has been this one notorious stretch of the Atlantic Ocean, a place where the line between what's real and what's fiction has gotten, well, completely blurred.
It's a question that just kind of hangs in the air, right? It suggests there's a place on the map that just swallows things. For a long, long time, we've had a name for that place. But what if the answer isn't a place at all? What if it's a process, a chain of events, a perfect and absolutely fatal combination of clues?
Just think about the case of Flight 19. You've got 5 U.S. Navy bombers. They take off from Florida. It's just a routine training run. The weather's fine, the pilots are pros. But then, a few hours later, their radio calls start getting weird, confused. The lead pilot says his compasses are shot. And then, just silence. 14 men, gone. A rescue plane sent to find them, with 13 more people on board. It also vanishes from radar. Or hey, let's go back even further. The USS Cyclops. This thing was a massive Navy cargo ship. We're talking over 540 feet long. It's heading for Baltimore with 306 souls on board. It never sends a distress signal. It leaves behind no wreckage. The ship and every single person on it just ceases to exist. See? These aren't just one-off incidents. These are the headline cases in this huge, sprawling case file that we call the Bermuda Triangle. It's a legend built on disappearances that are so sudden, so total, that they seem to defy any kind of logical explanation. I mean, we are talking about a vast area of ocean here, 500,000 square kilometers. And for years, the theories have been as wild as the sea itself. You've heard them all, right? Alien abductions, portals to another dimension, weird magnetic fields, even the lost city of Atlantis. But what if the real truth is buried somewhere a lot deeper? And look, this isn't just something from the history books. The losses keep happening. On average, something like 4 planes and 20 ships are said to go missing in this area every single year. So yeah, the legends are powerful, but the real answers, they might not be supernatural at all. They might just be science. All right, so let's do this. Let's treat this like what it is, a cold case. The clues we need, they aren't hiding in some sci-fi novel. Nope, they're buried in old naval reports, in geological surveys, and in the basic laws of physics. It's time to connect the evidence. So let's start with the USS Cyclops. The very first clue is hidden right there in its final ship's manifest. You see, it wasn't just carrying cargo, it was carrying a fatal flaw. The Cyclops was loaded down with 10,800 tons of manganese ore. Super dense, super heavy stuff. Now get this, that's over 3,000 tons more than its maximum capacity. The ship was dangerously overloaded before it even left the dock, and on top of that, reports noted its starboard engine was failing. Not a good start. And this fits into a really disturbing pattern. 2 of the Cyclops' sister ships, the Proteus and the Nereus, they also vanished without a trace, decades later, while carrying the same heavy ore. The official theory became a sudden, catastrophic structural failure, basically a ship that was simply pushed way beyond its limit. So, okay, we have an unstable ship, that's clue number 1. But the next clue isn't on the ship at all, it's thousands of feet below it. We have to look at the very ground these ships were sailing over. The geology in this area is just bizarre. Bermuda itself is sitting on this weird, buoyant swell in the Earth's crust. And crucially, the seabed around there is packed with something called methane hydrates. These are enormous deposits of frozen methane gas, just trapped under immense pressure. Think of it like a sleeping giant just weeding under the mud. So we've got an overloaded ship and an unstable seabed. The final piece of the puzzle, the last clue, it's not a historical fact. It's a law of nature. It's all about why things float in the first place. It all comes down to a constant battle. You've got gravity, which is always pulling a ship down, but the water it's sitting in is dense and it pushes back with an upward force. We call that buoyancy. As long as buoyancy is winning that fight, the ship floats. Simple as that. This is the question. This is the question that unlocks the entire mystery. What happens to a 19,000-ton steel ship when the very thing holding it up suddenly changes and that upward push just vanishes in an instant? Right, so in normal, dense seawater, the buoyant force wins, the ship floats. But what if that water were suddenly filled with gas? I mean, it becomes this frothy, airy foam. its density would absolutely plummet. The buoyant force would just collapse, and gravity would take over, pulling that ship straight to the bottom with unbelievable speed. So, it's time. Let's put it all together. We have the overloaded ship, we have the volatile seabed, and we have the physics of a sudden sinking. All the evidence is pointing to one extraordinary event. Scientists have a theory, and honestly, the name they came up with is a little strange, but it is incredibly descriptive. They call it oceanic flatulence. It's a massive, explosive eruption of methane gas right from the ocean floor. Just picture it. One of those trapped methane deposits gets disturbed, maybe by a little landslide on the seafloor. It erupts, sending a huge plume of gas rocketing to the surface. And for a few terrifying moments, a huge patch of the ocean stops being dense water. It becomes a churning, weightless foam. And if a ship is unlucky enough to be right in the middle of that plume, it would experience a total loss of buoyancy. It would just drop straight down as if the entire ocean floor fell out from under it. There's no time for an SOS call, no time to launch the lifeboats. It would sink so fast it could get pulled right into the crater left by the eruption, buried under mud, leaving absolutely no trace. So let's go back. Let's go back to the cold case of the USS Cyclops. Because when you're armed with this theory, all those random, inexplicable details, they suddenly snap into a logical and frankly terrifying sequence. So let's assemble the final report. You've got a dangerously top-heavy ship pushed way past its limits. It has a failing engine, which means it can't maneuver or get away quickly. It then sails directly over a ticking time bomb on the seabed. When that bomb goes off, the very ocean beneath it effectively vanishes. In probably less than a minute, that massive ship is gone. Case closed. Now, this theory, it could explain the Cyclops and maybe a lot of other ships. But what about the planes, like Flight 19? Well, the truth is, that's a whole other cold case, probably involving the region's crazy unpredictable weather or magnetic weirdness. But it opens up a much bigger idea. Over 80% of our own planet's oceans are still totally unexplored. So maybe the real mystery was never about aliens or portals. Maybe it was always just a reminder that the deepest secrets aren't in another dimension. They're right here, just waiting in the dark.